Hey, everybody, I hope you all are doing well. And now that we are getting to the end of the month, it is time for us to do our monthly haul for the month of March. In this haul, we have 7 bottles of the best bottles, in fact, that, at least in our opinion, that we picked up this month for a totality of $4,084.96. So we're going to talk about the bottles that we got, how much they ended up costing us, and why we decided to add them to our collection. Now, before we get to it, if you like these videos, if you like the hauls, if you like the wanders, if you like the reviews, the unbottlings, the unboxings, and all the amazing stuff we got cooking up for you, we got a lot. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it really does help the channel, which we are super appreciative of. Also, you get notifications when our newest videos come out on Sundays, sometimes in between. All right, now, let's get down to the video. So today we're going to get started with a little bit of a whiskey check with something a little kind of special. Today I'm feeling, a little scotchy, a little kind of maybe a step up from the normal scotch. So today I think we're going to be drinking a little bit of this Macallan, which is pretty good. I don't dip into it that often because it's kind of expensive and kind of hard to get, and it's kind of sort of the wife's. So, but today, you know what? I think it's justified. It's got a pretty amazing haul for you all. Let's see if we can get a pop, in fact. Turn the bottle. Hey, not too bad. And get a little bit of juice for myself. That's good. And it's a whiskey because, let's face it, you can never really drink too much of it. You can only just kind of drink it too fast. Cheers. Oh, that's good. Oh, yeah. All right, so first up today is one that you may have seen earlier this month when we did our Blanton's flight tasting in London, which is this Blanton's Takara Black, which, as you can see, we take a look at the bottle. You can see here that it has Japanese writing on it because it is a Japanese domestic product specifically. Now, the reason why we got it is because the wife enjoyed it so much at the tasting that we did in London, she jumped at the chance to bring it into the collection. Now, despite this one kind of being one of the coolest looking bottles out there in the whole Blanton's line, it is basically just the normal Blanton's, but downshifted on the ABV to fit the Japanese market at 40% or 80 proof. Also, additionally, it is allegedly aged a little bit longer. Keep in mind that the normal standard single barrel Blanton's is at 46.5%, so it is definitely lower. This one specifically was dumped on 9/8/2021 from barrel number 66, warehouse H, Rick number 41, and at 80 proof, as you can see there. Oh, bottle number 87, and the letter is E, the letter of the day. E. Interestingly enough, though, purportedly, this one has been barreled longer than the standard Blanton's single barrel. Normally, it's barreled at 5.5 years, aged 5.5 years. This one is, again, purportedly, I don't have any facts on it, but I just heard that it's barreled 8 years. Also, I imagine the whole raison d'etre for this whiskey is because of Buffalo Trace's pronounced presence in the Japanese market, and also the particular palate that the Japanese whiskey drinkers have that seem to really value well-balanced and light-touch bourbons, rather than many of us American bourbon lovers who don't feel satisfied unless we're breathing fire after every single sip. This one we bought online, and we bought it for $222.00. And we added it to the collection for 2 reasons. First, it's because the wife, well, she likes it a lot, and that is reason enough. And also, I think it'll make a great addition to the collection to kind of round out some of those more obscure Blantons that are out there instead of just having the normal standard line. So, this is the Blanton's Takara Black Edition, and pretty happy to have it part of the collection. All right, so next up is a whiskey that we went back and forth on so many times because although it is quite rare and it is quite hard to get, and it is kind of a lot of expensive, but we did end up getting it, which is this Springbank 30. Ooh. So, being more of a Scotch lover than a Bourboniste, the wife is, she kind of got me started on a journey up the Springbank ladder earlier this year. And as you can see, we have done a fair amount of damage on the one that we have been drinking, the entry level, the Springbank 10, which is delicious, by the way. And we figured that since we enjoyed it so much, you know what? It would totally make sense to see if we can work our way up the line. It's worth the investment in our time and our energy and our taste buds in working up the line of Springbank. Now, although we have skipped a few on the line on the way up to get to the Springbank 30, I'm happy that we did end up getting this one because realistically, we want to get the full line so we can try to work our way up to it, but they don't all come out at once, right? You can't just buy the full flight for a reasonable price, but they do kind of just show up randomly here and there. And when you can get them, you got to get them. So obviously, this one is aged 30 years old. It is ABV'd at 46%. It is also 750 milliliters, and it is aged in 85% bourbon and 15% sherry cask. They produce only about 1,400 bottles of this a year, and although there are not a lot of reviews on it, I would assume because of the cost and because of the rarity, we did end up getting this one for $2,800, and I don't have a ton to say about it because I'm super excited. I'm very, very excited that we got this one to add to our growing spring break collection. I just know that we're probably not going to drink it for a while because we have a long way to go to work our taste buds and our palate up to the point where we could truly appreciate it. But hopefully, in the not too distant future, we'll get a chance to try it out and tell you how it is. All right, so the number 3 on this list from this month that we got is one that we actually showed earlier this month. We did a video on it in our Wander, which is this Hibiki Harmony Blossom. So speaking of kind of harmonious whiskey palates, like we talked about with the Blanton's Takara Black, Hibiki is known for its well-balanced, never really overly boisterous palate that never goes overboard with the ABV. This Harmony Blossom, it does not break with that tradition. In fact, it really enhances it. And it was designed as an homage to the cherry blossom, which is both beautiful and smells great, and is venerated in Japan every single year during the Cherry Blossom Festival, which hopefully one day I'll get to go see and maybe even enjoy this while we're at it. Primary difference between this one and the standard Hibiki Harmony is that this is normal Hibiki Harmony, but they do finish it in Sakura cherry wood barrels to give the whiskey a very beautiful floral palate. The Hibiki Harmony is a blend of whiskeys from the 3 Suntory distilleries, the Yamazaki, the Hatsushu, and the Chita distilleries. This one specifically was released in 2022, and we got this one from Costco here in Los Angeles for $159.99. So this is yet another great addition to our Hibiki collection. And it'll be very interesting to compare it to some of the other Hibikis that we already have and see if that cherry wood aging really makes that much of a difference in the flavor and also if it warrants the increased price to it. So that is the Hibiki Blossom Limited Edition 2022. All right, so next up, and as you can see, peppered into this haul is yet another whiskey out of the house of Buffalo Trace Distillery. And as you can tell, there's a definite bourbon bias on here. But it's another of the Blantons, and this time it is the Blanton's Green Label Special Reserve. Ooh, I like that. That's got a very cool color to it. It would be great for St. Patty's Day. I should have had this one earlier. Now, this Blanton Special Reserve is yet another of the lower ABV versions of Blantons. And actually, when I was looking up the info on this one, I found an article that mentioned that the possible reason for the lower ABV is maybe possibly because of the market that it's in, but also because of certain markets in Asia and Europe, they levy taxes for whiskey based off of the proof, which I don't even want to know what the levy would be on a Blanton's SFTB or a George T. Stagg, something like that that's got like a 62 plus ABV. So this one is proofed down to 40%, again, like the black, in order to keep it potentially more affordable and more accessible within those markets. The specifics on this Blanton's Green is that it was dumped on 1/25/2022, barrel number 126, warehouse H, Rick number 67, proofed at 80 proof or 40%. It is 70 centiliters, so 700 milliliters, and it is bottle number 38 and letter A for A. A. That's like bingo. But given the fact that this one is a lower ABV, and apparently it is only aged at the normal 5.5 years, like the normal single barrel Blantons, I mean, realistically, the reason why we got this one in added collection is because just to have a more complete collection of Blantons and to have really as many as we can to create a very interesting and complete vertical line to taste and compare. And I think the green bottle, I mean, it looks really cool. I mean, it's really quite aesthetically pleasing, but I don't think that it's really going to knock any of our socks off. So we ended up picking this one up for $235, and that is the Blanton's Special Reserve, the green bottle. So for this next whiskey, it's one that we have really started collecting but have not yet tried, but it's one that I really want to get into and just haven't had the time to do it yet, is this Russell Reserve Single Rickhouse Camp Nelson C. Now, Russell Reserve in general, it gets a lot of really good press online when we're skimming through all the whiskey commentariats. So it has spurred us to pick them up whenever we can find them, especially the harder to get ones like this one. Now, this one is specifically an extrapolated version of the single barrel in the sense that rather than saying, well, this is a whiskey where all the whiskey in it is from one single barrel, so there's variance in it, rather they're going to say, this one is a whiskey that has all the whiskey in it that's from one specific rick house, which is in no way, shape, or form, any way similar to small batch with just a couple extra steps added to it. But really, it does seem like it is just kind of small batch with a couple steps added to it. This Russell Reserve is supposed to be kind of an upmarket, limited release whiskey from Wild Turkey. I think Wild Turkey 101, but with a bow tie on it. A turkey with a bow tie on it. Or whatever the next step up over Jack Daniels Gentleman Jack is. It is non-age statement. It is ABV'd at a very healthy 56.2%, as you can see there, or 112.4 proof. And to make it feel more of like a boutique tailored product, Russell's Reserve have only used barrels from the meatiest part of the rick house in the middle of the rick on rick 3 and 4, which I don't know. Maybe there are some whiskey sommelier level people who can distinguish a whiskey from which rick it is on. But I don't know if I'm there yet. So I'm not really sure how that makes much of a difference, but I guess we'll have to see, right? We'll have to try it out and see. Anyways, we picked this one up because, well, one is that I like the ABV on it, which is nice and healthy. It is exactly at the level that I like. Also, we have a couple of the other Russell Reserves, like the 10-year, and I think a couple other ones I can't think of off the top of my head. And we're probably going to start that journey through those starting at the bottom here in a little bit. So there's a lot of excitement about the line, especially for this one coming out. And I guess lastly, after having moved up the Beam line, going through Jim Beam and Booker's and Knob Creek and those ones and Little Book, I kind of want to start doing that with another producer. And I think Wild Turkey is another great place to start with that. So that's the reason why we picked up this Russell Reserve single rick house. And we paid $299.99 for it. So next up is a whiskey that is another one of those ones that we picked up because we really enjoyed it when we did our London bourbon tasting, which is this Weller Foolproof. And if you want to see that tasting of all the lines of Wellers that we drank through, go ahead and I'll put a link up there and you can take a look at that now. And I don't exactly remember where this one fell on our list of whether it was our favorite or not. I don't think it was our favorite, but it wasn't our least favorite. But the thing I do remember about it is that I really enjoy the higher ABV on it, the more kind of modern flavored profile that it had. Because, the wife and I, we both really thoroughly enjoyed the Weller 12, and it is really enjoyable and balanced, but it is definitely lacking some horsepower. So this Weller Foolproof is a great addition to the Weller line because it kind of fills in where that Weller 12 kind of left off, at least as far as ABV goes. The Foolproof was added to the Weller line in 2019 for basically the reasons I just talked about. And honestly, I do remember that I did like it better than the CYPV. Like the Blendons, it is another one out of the Buffalo Trace stable, and it is well known for being in the same family with the mash bill number 2 as Pappy Van Winkle's, at least some of them. Which some would say, not me, but some would say that it is a fair analog, the Weller, to some of the Pappies. Again, I didn't say that. This one is a non-age statement version of the Weller. It is proof at 57% ABV, as you can see right there, or 114 proof. And it is basically the highest proof Weller that you're going to be able to get until you get to the William LaRue Weller. But, good luck with that. So we decided to add this one to the collection because we are growing our Weller bottles, and we really like them overall. Also because we got it at a pretty reasonable price, which was at $69.99. So at that point, just kind of an obvious buy. So that is the Weller Foolproof. Now last up, and in my personal perspective, probably the most interesting whiskey in this haul, and that's why we saved it for last, is this Ichiro's Malt Chichubu US 2022 edition. Now, we had tried the other Ichiro Blue, the World Malt, previously and found that it was very enjoyable, if not expensive, for what you're getting. And, because probably likely of the Japanese hype tax, that's just going to be the way things go unless you're buying something like a Tokai. And although this one is not priced more reasonably, the whiskey at first glance really does seem like a much more creative endeavor of love by the Japanese distiller Ichiro Kudo. Just looking at kind of how the process was made, it really reminds me of one of those like Japanese wave paintings where there's like a million things going on. It's overwhelming, and that's kind of the point, and it's really cool. It's like that, but for whiskey. This Ichiro's Malt US 2022, as you would imagine, is specifically designed for the US market. It is ABV'd at 53.5%, which is a very respectable whiskey strength, especially for a Japanese whiskey, which usually isn't that high. And it is bottle number 2078 of 2,233 bottles. So it is sort of rare. And from the wife, what she told me was really difficult to get. One of the things that makes it most interesting to me is how the whiskey's aged, because they actually age it in Imperial Stout, IPA, and Hoppy Cider Hogsheads barrels, which are smaller than the standard barrels, which allow for a different rate of flavor transfer. At least that's how the theory goes. This one was obviously released in 2022. It is a non-age statement, so there's no age on it. And it's made using whiskey that was from two-row malted barley, which I think means that the barleys were basically neighbor when they were growing up. So again, complexity definitely abides in the distillation process in this one, and I'm hoping that that complexity is reflected in the whiskey, and it's kind of hard to see how it couldn't be. So this is the Ichiro's Malt US 2022, and we got it for $299.99. So this one is another one that I'm very, very excited to try. All right, so that's it for our March whiskey haul with our 7 bottles that we thought were the most interesting that we ended up picking up. And I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, if you like the hauls, if you like the reviews, the wanders, the unbottlings, the unboxings, and really all the amazing stuff we got cooking up for you, and we got tons of it, don't forget to like and subscribe, because it does really help the channel to grow, and we're super thankful for that. But also, it's great for your whiskey mojo, and you get notifications when our newest and most informative videos become available. Now, just remember, if you do find a whiskey that you love, just buy it. Because if you don't, somebody else surely will. And in this case, it might even be me. All right, everybody, I'm out. Have a great rest of your week, and adios.